Good morning, everyone, and welcome into the Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we have some news to talk about today, as we do every day. We're discussing the football news every morning here, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. on the Wake and Take. Today, we're basically just going to be talking about the suspensions that have happened yesterday, as well as a couple other things I found. It's going to be a short episode, so why don't we go ahead and sit back, relax, sip our coffee, and enjoy the show. All right, so we already know, right? This is the big story going around the league. Yesterday, I teased it. Adam Schefter reported that there were going to be some more suspensions coming out. Well, those suspensions did come. 4 players were suspended yesterday for gambling, 3 of which were suspended indefinitely. 1 was suspended for just 6 games. Indianapolis Colts players Isaiah Rodgers, Rashad Berry were suspended indefinitely for betting on NFL games last season. Isaiah Rodgers in particular was betting on the Colts. Demetrius Taylor is a free agent, not with the team, but also suspended indefinitely, also for just betting on NFL games. I don't know if he bet on a team that he was on or whatever. And then the offensive tackle for the Tennessee Titans, Nicholas Petit-Frere, was suspended 6 games for betting on other sports at the workplace. This all came out yesterday. And we're just going to kind of talk about this a little bit because, as you know, I do have some opinions on these gambling rules that the NFL has been setting forth. It is, it's a tough line for the NFL to draw, I believe. To just put it simple, put it plain. I have like 2 episodes, maybe even 3 episodes now kind of ranting about this subject. So I'll save you most of the details, but I do just find it a bit hypocritical that the NFL makes so much money off these partnerships with sportsbooks and betting companies and doesn't let their NFL players take a stab at it. I think that there should be some sort of middle ground, and I hope that it is eventually found because so many players now, I think that's like 12 or 13 players this offseason alone that have now been suspended for this, and I'm sure it's not going to stop. I can almost guarantee it's not going to stop. So I'm curious what that middle ground could be and where we'll go from there. I want to talk about Nicholas Petit-Frere real quick because he actually kind of broke the news himself. He said that he was going to be suspended before it came out. He tweeted out kind of, his apology or whatever. And in that apology, he literally said, "I did not knowingly break the rules. Even after attending a league presentation, I was unaware about the specifics around placing bets from a team facility." I just don't. If you have literally gone to a presentation about this and the NFL somehow forgot to give out this information, let these players know, then they shouldn't be suspended for it. I don't care. Like, if this guy did the due diligence by going to conference or whatever, a meeting about it, a presentation, and still didn't know all the rules. So at the very least, we've got to make sure these players know what they're doing. And that's where it starts. I did have a fantastic episode with Chase Vernon over at the Fantasy Intervention, as Jamie pointed out here in the chat, where we kind of came to a middle ground on what could happen. One thing we talked about was perhaps giving players, a certain amount of money from the league to bet, and then it's all maybe public knowledge, or just they're given an allotment. They can't like bet on spreads or whatever, but they can maybe bet on their team to win specifically. Without the spread, there's a bunch of different ways to kind of do it. And then also, if they did end up winning, all of that money would just go to charity, but that would still kind of allow them to bet. I do believe the betting on other sports at team facilities, I do believe that rule should just be thrown out the window. I think it's ridiculous that Petit-Frere is going to be suspended half the time that Deshaun Watson is or was for, betting on probably like some random basketball game while in the bathroom. It's a little silly. I think I understand banning players for, betting on the game, betting specifically on their own team. Isaiah Rodgers is a very interesting topic because not only did he bet on the Colts to win, which is fine. I do believe that players should be allowed to bet on their own team to win. Not with spreads or anything, because that could get, interesting to see, like if they are trying to beat a spread, they might score instead of taking a knee on the one to end the game or something like that. But, just straight up betting on your team to win, I think could be an interesting wrinkle that we could allow with some sort of tweaks, I'm sure. But in Isaiah Rodgers' case, not only did he bet on the Colts to win, he also was betting on player props. He bet specifically on a Colts running back. They didn't release which one. I believe it was Zach Moss, if I remember correctly, kind of what people were talking about based on the timeline, to run for over 100 yards. And I do think that that could become an issue because obviously Isaiah Rodgers had the game plan and knew that that specific Colts running back was going to be running a lot. Therefore, he hit a prop bet or bet on a prop bet on that player to run for a lot of yards. I do think that that is probably a bit too far. But I want to go back to this point that I kind of brought up, and this is Jonathan Jones for the Patriots. I understand rules are rules, but I can risk my life so that my team wins, but I can't risk 1K on my team winning. And that's kind of how I feel. I don't understand why players are allowed to put themselves on the line every single week for their team to win, but can't bet on their own team to win. I understand the spreads and stuff, but I feel like it doesn't change anything. Your motivation going into the game is still to win the game, regardless of if you bet on your team or not. So I do think that players should be allowed to bet on their own teams to win. I feel like that is a perfect line to draw. They can't bet on their team to lose. They can't bet on their team to cover or not cover a spread. But if they could just straight up say, I play for the Patriots, I want us to win, I'm going to bet on my team to win. That should be fine. Maybe it's extra motivation, but who cares what extra motivation is if the end outcome is still the same? These players giving it their all week in, week out. I think also that would lead to better football, right? I don't know. So we'll find out what the NFL will eventually do. I do believe that they have at this point handed out too many suspensions for these gambling policies, especially for the ones that, weren't even betting on the NFL. But speaking of suspensions, not only were players suspended for gambling, yesterday, Jaguars offensive tackle Cam Robinson was also suspended, but he was suspended for violating the league's PED policy. This suspension will actually end up costing Cam Robinson $3.5 million and voids the guarantee money that was left in his contract. That is rough. He's losing a lot of money on this, but not only that, this also opens the door for the first round pick that they made, left tackle Anton Harrison, to become an immediate starter. So he was probably going to be able to hold him off for a little bit, but now this first round rookie is going to be able to come in and play immediately. So Cam Robinson quite literally is messing with his job, quite literally, because not only is he losing money, he's now letting a young buck get a chance. And the guy that filled in for him last year and the year before will likely also fill in on the other side, or, where Cam Robinson is, and they'll play Anton Harrison on the right side. Who knows, really? But it was Walker Little replaced Cam Robinson before, and he actually has a pretty high PFF grade and did well in the time. So it's possible, because not only is he losing guaranteed money, losing the salary, there was a first-round pick tackle taken, but the Jaguars also have an out on Cam Robinson's contract this year. So 2023, after this season, they have an out. And he had a $16 million base salary in 2024 that could completely be, they could just get out of it for less money. This year it was $12 million, but as, the suspension does, he has lost some of that and some of the guaranteed money as well. So it's tough for Cam Robinson. He put himself in a rough spot by violating the PED policy. It's probably tough because he was taking those PEDs to heal faster to get back on the field, but hey, you just can't do that. You just can't do that. So hopefully figures it out. I mean, I hope the man doesn't lose a job. That kind of sucks, but being a knucklehead will get you that. So we'll see. I'll say this could maybe, I'm going to lean no, but maybe, if the Jaguars do start out slow because of the offensive line issues, you could be looking at a buy window for T-Law when the season begins. Like, say they lose their first couple games, he's getting sacked 3 or 4 times. They could look rough on T-Law, and you could be buying him. Who knows? I mean, obviously, we're still so many weeks away from the season, but I would definitely just keep your eye on what happens with the Jaguars O-line, especially to begin the year while the suspension is being served, because that could present an opportunity to buy Trevor Lawrence, which might never present itself again. And so this leads me to my next point, because the NFL is suspension happy right now and has been all season, and they have officially, per Andy Slater, requested the video from the alleged incident with Tyreek Hill. And also, according to Andy Slater, this video must be released to the league and others at some point because it's public record. So the cameras that got him, I guess, were technically public cameras. This video will come out at some point. And not only that, the NFL is investigating this situation. As we know and have seen historically, video evidence for these types of things do tend to eventually lead to some sort of suspension. So depending on how severe this video looks, how much of a baby Tyreek Hill looked like and acted like, we could be seeing a suspension come. I will say this, no matter what, it's probably not going to be until the 2024 season. So that's fine. You can still buy him for this year. But we do just have to kind of look at the past and see. Kareem Hunt was suspended for 8 games. There was a video of his incident. And then, of course, the Alvin Kamara situation. We are officially a month away. It'll be July 31st, I believe. So just keep your eye on how that situation unfolds. If he gets some sort of suspension, Tyreek Hill will probably also get some sort of suspension in 2024. Just because, I mean, Alvin Kamara, I feel like, is a great precedent to set. This is another star player in the league. What kind of suspension will he get for a similar crime? We'll have to find out. So just keep your eye on Tyreek Hill. I wouldn't be selling him right now. I would still be holding on to him. I would probably also be buying him if possible, depending on how scared your league mate is of this situation. But I just want you guys to know that the NFL has officially began their investigation, that there's video evidence, and that video will eventually be released to the entire public. So it could be rough sailing going forward for Tyreek Hill. He may not be able to finish out his contract like he said he would. Next up, guys, Jeudy has a fun little quote about the coaching. You know, guys, I'm a sucker for coaching, say it every time. And he's talking about just kind of the what Sean Payton is bringing to the Broncos. And he said, Sean Payton is coaching me in every way he can. Every little detail that he's seen me mess up on, he gives his opinion on it and thinks of ways for me to get better. I appreciate having a coach that is that dedicated in helping me to become the best player I can be. He's a great offensive-minded guy, so him putting players in the right position so they can be successful at different alignments, moving me around and stuff like that, plus all the other guys on the team. It's going to be a lot of pieces that teams will have to focus on, and Sean Payton knows what to do with them. So, as we all knew, right, that Sean Payton would be a better head coach for the Broncos than Nathaniel Hackett, and that's why the value has increased for every single player in the offense. But it's just good to hear some player perspective on the situation and how much the Jeudy believes in him, and presumably the rest of the team, and vice versa, how much Sean Payton is believing in this team and working with his guys. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic, and I do want to be buying Jeudy and probably Marvin Mims. I'm a little too scared right now to buy Cortland Sutton or Tim Patrick. I just don't know. I just don't know. And I'll kind of leave it at that. It just doesn't quite feel right to me. But something about Jeudy and Marvin Mims just sounds right and feels right to me as the Broncos' future, like, kind of wide receiver duo. So we'll see how that unfolds, definitely. But either way, good things are coming out of Denver, and I hope this offense gets back on track, because not only do we want to see Russell Wilson play good again, I want to see Jeudy finally have a season. It just hasn't quite clicked. We've seen some flashes and everything, but I want to see this fully come together. And Sean Payton seems to be the guy that will finally unlock it. And guys, it's the last time of the week for me to be plugging our world famous draft kit. Let me go ahead and play you just a little video about it because it's awesome. We are very proud of what we've put out with this thing. Here you go.
Hey, it's the Podfather. I have great news. The 2023 Draft Kit is live. It is world famous. Why? Because it is the best resource for winning fantasy football championships that exists. There are rankings and cheat sheets for every format you can imagine. We have projections both at the team level and the player level. And wherever you are, you can click on a player, open them up, and see in-depth written analysis about what to expect in fantasy football from that player this year. And then you can click on the team, and you can get even more in-depth analysis, all the drivers of fantasy production, both in a positive and negative direction for that team, including a signature trend. And the graphics are incredible. So these team insights, they give you the team-level projections, the vacated targets, the vacated areas, and that one dynamic for each team that you need to know when making decisions on draft day. And we added a bunch of features. I mean, individual cheat sheets for Theo and Billy and Dario. So you could take your favorite analyst and download their personal draft cheat sheet And then in the commissioners section, also brand new this year, Memphis Young lays out everything you need to know to manage a league, do's, don'ts, tips, and what the more innovative fantasy commissioners are doing this year. That's presented by Trophy Smack. The whole package is presented by the Fantasy Football Players Championship, the FFPC, Ray Garvin, Derek Brown, the best minds in the industry contributing analysis. It's certainly not the most inexpensive draft kit on the market, but it is the best. PlayerProfiler.com/draft kit. PlayerProfiler.com/draft kit. Go get it.
Go get that draft kit, everyone, and don't stop there. Sign up for the all-in package to get all of the Player Profiler tools, the Dynasty Deluxe, the data analysis, our rankings, plus a few other fun little gadgets that'll help you win your leagues, and some DFS stuff as well. You can use promo code JASON to save $10. It's great. It's fun. Go get it and use my promo code. Everyone listening, do we have any questions? I do see this. Harry Snowman points out a good point about letting players bet on their teams to win a game. The difference is that losing could cost their families, and the stability of the communities. Moreover, once you get into losing money, people get desperate. This is true. I mean, NFL players are already notoriously bad at saving their money and using their money. So, maybe the can of worms of allowing them to gamble would be rough. It could go really south for a lot of players, especially if they end up getting addicted to it. But that's kind of what happens when you live in a free country too. So I don't know. It's definitely tough. I do think this is a fantastic point. And we would definitely have to do some financial literacy stuff for these players. Perhaps, give them bookies, to be like, hey, I know you want your team to win this week, but you're probably not beating the Chiefs, so save your money. We'll see how it ends up developing. But I do like this point, Snowman. That's a fantastic point. Johnny wants to know David Montgomery or Tank Bigsby. I'm not a big David Montgomery guy, but I'm also not too high on Tank Bigsby this year. Or really going forward. I do believe that Travis Etienne will eventually be the player that we all wanted him to be. So I'll probably take David Montgomery. I don't think that Montgomery will have as many touchdowns as Jamal Williams. I don't think anyone really will. But I do still think that he's going to get a certain amount of work that will be good. And plus the Detroit Lions offense will be good. So I think you probably have a safer floor with David Montgomery. Maybe not as high of a ceiling, maybe. But even then, he might have just as high of a ceiling as Tank Bigsby as well, or probably it's definitely at least close enough to where I'm just going to take the floor guy with David Montgomery. Let's see. Got the 106, 206, and a 2024 first for Deshaun Watson and Alexander Madison in PPR. If this is a single QB, I think you did a fantastic job. If it's super flex, I probably would have held on to Deshaun Watson here. And it looks like they were going to send a decent bit for Madison, maybe just that 2024 first for Madison. I might have just stuck there because it's a decent return for Deshaun Watson, but it's a tough time to be selling him right now because there's still obviously the possibility that he does return to form and does become, a top 8 quarterback again. And in that case, you didn't quite get enough for him. So I probably would have waited to sell, but you're not in rough shape either. Still getting 2 first-round picks and a second. It's not terrible. And I'm sure you'll be able to figure it out. And, I think you'll end up being fine, but I might have held off personally. Jelani Woods or Schoonmaker in Dynasty tight end premium. This is actually really tough. I mean, you have to probably go with Jelani Woods right now. But I do think that there will come a time where Luke Schoonmaker is the answer to this question. But, Jelani Woods has the better profile, already has a year in the league under his belt. Plus, Anthony Richardson is a mobile quarterback, and we have seen a tendency with mobile quarterbacks to target their tight ends to a high degree. So it's possible Jelani Woods ends up being, someone fantastic. What I love about Luke Schoonmaker, though, is, of course, that he's just on the Cowboys, and he's probably going to be the starting tight end at least by week 4. I think he will eventually beat out Hendershot and Ferguson because he's more athletic and a better receiver for sure. I think that it's a valuable role for Luke Schoonmaker that he will have the tight end for the Cowboys, as we've seen with Dalton Schultz. That has been very successful for fantasy football. So Luke Schoonmaker probably has a much safer floor than Jelani Woods, but probably not quite the ceiling. So I think right now, especially with the way the values are aligned, you could probably trade Jelani Woods for Schoonmaker plus. That might be a move I'd make, but to decide between the two, probably more on the Woods side. But I do love myself some Schoonmaker and am acquiring him where I can. I hope that answers your question, Jamar. Guys, that seems to do it. That seems to be it. Thank you all for joining to me. This was another fun episode of the Wake and Take. I hope you guys all enjoy your weekend. I hope you all enjoy your day today as well. And I hope to see you all here 10 a.m. Eastern on this very YouTube channel for Monday's version of the Wake and Take, where we'll discuss whatever happened over the weekend and whatever else I feel like talking about. Thanks again, guys. You have a fantastic day and weekend. Peace.
Hey, you like that video? Be sure to subscribe and activate those alerts so you get notified as soon as new videos drop. And be sure to check out PlayerProfiler.com. We have all the tools for you to dominate every type of fantasy league. We have a draft kit, Dynasty Deluxe, data analysis, DFS Dominator, and don't forget the player rankings to rule them all.